Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that is a master of tap dance. Oh, you'd really get a kick out of it if only you could see my feet. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 5 games from Fantasy Flight Games. So, ladies and gentlemen, I got to confess, I kind of have dragged my feet on presenting you this list because if you've seen my top 10 games of all time, you know Fantasy Flight Games kind of dominates this list consistently. So Fantasy Flight, I just don't know if there's going to be any surprises in this video, but I'm going to share it with you anyway because I figured, what the hey, I got to include Fantasy Flight Games in my top 5 games of all time, or top 5 games from this company, rather, because I do love Fantasy Flight Games so much as a company. So first of all, Star Wars Armada, honorable mention. Honorable mention, Star Wars Armada is a fantastic game. I had a hard time not putting it in the list. Love the minis. It's a good space, kind of strategic, tactical level ship combat system. It looks like it'd work almost as well for kind of a naval battle, but it's so rich and thematic for Star Wars. I love Star Wars Armada. Star Wars X-Wing. Now, I'm talking, of course, about the first edition. I've actually got a copy of the second edition of Star Wars X-Wing right here, which I will hopefully review before too long. But I love the original Star Wars X-Wing. I think I had such a fun time with that game. I got a lot of it. I kind of had to stop collecting it for various reasons, but it's a fun game. I still got a ton of the stuff. I really enjoy Star Wars X-Wing. Other games I enjoy, of course, Letters from Whitechapel, Hidden Movement game with Jack the Ripper, of course, Eldritch Horror, that great scary, spooky Cthulhu universe game. Love that one as well. New Angeles. New Angeles is great. Good, solid kind of hidden trader game, but you're competing, kind of capitalist competing stuff there. Really, really quite a lot of fun there as well. I've also got Forbidden Stars, which is here. I guess you can't see that one. Forbidden Stars is a great Warhammer 40k. I was so bummed when kind of Games Workshop and Fantasy Flight went their opposite ways because I was really hoping they'd do more expansions with that game, but it doesn't look like that is the case. We won't be seeing any more of those. That was bummed. The Sid Meier's Civilization, which just came out, is really a lot of fun. I like that one quite a bit. And then, of course, one game that would probably be my number 3 or 4 on this list, except Fantasy Flight Games lost the license with Games Workshop, and that's Fury of Dracula. I love Fury of Dracula. It's consistently in my top 5 games of all time. I love Fury of Dracula so much. It is such a great game. I just hidden movement, but there's combat, and it's really a great thematic game. One of the most thematic games I've played in the Dracula mythos, and I really love it. It's not for everybody. I know a lot of people played it and said, liked it, didn't love it. I love it. I love Fury of Dracula quite a bit. So those are my honorable mentions. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to my top 5 games from Fantasy Flight Games. So coming in at number 5, this is a game, came out a couple years ago. It's a second edition. First edition I enjoyed, but the setup sucked. Not a problem with the second edition. I am, of course, talking about Mansions of Madness second edition. Mansions of Madness second edition is one of those few games I actually enjoy playing solo. Generally, I don't like playing solo games, but I'll play this one solo every now and then, and it's so much fun. I love the atmosphere this game creates. It's genuinely creepy, and of course it uses the app, and so the app, you get the music and the sound effects, and it's genuinely creepy. I mean, I played this game by myself at times when I was little, kind of looking over my shoulder. It's just creepy, and it's fun. Any game that can really get you on an emotional level is awesome, and this game does it very well, and by utilizing some of that technology. But it's so much fun. All of the different scenarios are different and unique, and they're fun to play and explore. I've got all the stuff for this one now, and I'm still playing some of the... I haven't played all the scenarios. I'm still discovering stuff and finding stuff, and it's just a lot of fun. And it's a lot of cardboard and a lot of cards and a lot of stuff, and it's just a good, solid game. If you're one of the people who holds their nose at using an app in a game, don't. Go out and get this game. You will have so much fun with it. So that is my number 5. That is Mansions of Madness second edition from Fantasy Flight Games. My number 4 from Fantasy Flight Games is, of course, based on another great IP, and that is Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones, the board game, 2nd edition. Game of Thrones, the board game, is such a good screw over other people game. It's a great game because no one player is able to win on their own. They have to form alliances. They have to work with other people to win. But as soon as somebody starts getting out a little ahead, people turn on that person. It's a fun game. And I'm really excited. They got an expansion coming out here before too long. I'm really excited, looking forward to that as well. I think this is a fantastic game. Of course, it has its progenitor, its distant ancestor is Diplomacy, which is a game 20 years ago I played all the time. I love Diplomacy. And I love Game of Thrones, the board game. I love the IP, love the books, love the series, and the game is freaking awesome. So that is Game of Thrones 2nd edition. Game of Thrones, the board game, 2nd edition from Fantasy Flight Games, my number 4. So for my number 3, of course, I mentioned a couple other games in this IP a little earlier. This is, of course, a Star Wars game, and it is, in my opinion, the best Star Wars game ever. That is Star Wars Rebellion. Star Wars Rebellion is Star Wars in a box. Every time I play this, I feel like I'm reliving the original Star Wars movies, but I'm also taking it in fun new directions. The expansion that came out with it, I would really recommend, if you're going to buy this game, buy the expansion along with it, because the expansion just makes combat so much better. Combat in it was okay, but it wasn't anything great. Combat now, it's better. It's still not a perfect combat system in my opinion, but it's playable and it's interesting now. So I like that. But I also like some of the missions and the cards and the characters that come with the expansion as well, Rise of the Empire. But the game is great. It's a great storytelling game. It's a great adventure game. And you're doing it with your favorite Star Wars characters. And this boils down to, if you love the original Star Wars trilogy, you will love this game. I have not played or heard of anybody who is a Star Wars fan who's played this who's been disappointed. They may be out there, but I haven't heard from them. I haven't had any interactions with them. It's a fun game. The best I've heard is maybe there's some little things here and there about it they weren't wild about, like combat or some things. I know Quinn's on Shut and Sit Down said he felt like it didn't really build a story for him. It was just kind of this thing from Star Wars, this thing from Star Wars, this thing from Star Wars. For me, I feel narratives every time I play it. I feel stories every time I play it. It's a fun world to play in. It's a fun game. And best of all, it's asymmetrical. Love asymmetrical gameplay. This is one of the best asymmetrical games on the market today that I have played as far as I'm concerned. So that is my number 3, Star Wars Rebellion from Fantasy Flight Games. My number 2 game from Fantasy Flight Games, and this, again, no surprise to anybody, not only is this my second favorite game from Fantasy Flight, it is my second favorite game of all time, and this is Battlestar Galactica, the board game. Battlestar Galactica, the board game, is the most thematic game I have ever played. I cannot think of any other game that is as thematic, that does as much to capture the feelings, the emotions, the atmosphere, the intensity of the source material. In this case, the TV show Battlestar Galactica. Man, that show blew me away. It is tense. It's scary, and it's fun. And this game brings that. It is, again, Battlestar Galactica in a box. Star Wars in a box. This is Battlestar Galactica in a box. And both of those games, again, just do terrific things with the theme. And Battlestar Galactica, like I say, knocks it out of the park. You really get a sense of, we're trying to save the ship, but there's that hidden traitor, or possibly hidden traitors, and they are sabotaging everything you do. This is a game, every time I play it, I've got a smile on my face, whether I'm the Cylon or whether I'm the human. I'm having fun. I am having a ton of fun with this game. It's a longer game, 3 hours or so, 3 to 4 hours, not uncommon. It can play shorter than that. I played shorter games than that, but 3 hours, a little over 3 hours is pretty common for games I've played, but it's worth it. It's 3 hours the whole time where me and my friends are just grinning. And I think I've only played with 1 or 2 people that didn't like it, and I played this game a lot. But the vast majority of people I play like it. Even people who haven't seen the show like this game. It's a fantastic game. So that is my number 2, Battlestar Galactica from Fantasy Flight Games. And finally, my number 1 game from Fantasy Flight Games. Again, not only is this my number 1 game from Fantasy Flight Games, this is my number 1 game of all time. I am, of course, talking about Tiddlywinks. Tiddlywinks is the fun game. I'm just kidding, not Tiddlywinks. I am, of course, talking about Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. So, if you know the show, you know for years my favorite game was Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition. I love Twilight Imperium 3rd Edition. And I didn't think, really, there was any way you could improve upon it. Well, then they come out with Twilight Imperium 4th Edition, and it's like, that's how you improve upon it. It's a simpler, streamlined system. It's a little bit shorter of a game, but it's brilliant. It is so much fun. What do I love about this game? It's just this great, sweeping space opera. It's similar to Rebellion in a lot of ways, but of course it's a little more open, a little more sandboxy. It's a little more, and of course it's multiplayer. And it's when I think of just kind of a grand space narrative. I mean, I love science fiction, and this is like reading a science fiction novel every time you play it. But it's you're making it up as you go along. I played a game here a couple of months ago, in I guess it was early August, and I won, and it was, man, I just had a grin on my face for weeks after that, because I love this game so much. It's a long game. Again, you're looking at 6 to 8 hour games. So that's the drawback for Twilight Imperium 4. But man, it's so worth it if you can do it. If you can find a day, get your buddies, and play this game, and schedule this game, and play it, you will freaking love it. It's got everything. You've got exploration, you've got trade, you've got tech, you've got war game aspects, you've got political stuff and voting, which is awesome. And there's so much in here, and so much of TI4 that I absolutely love. So my only disappointment is not with, well, my disappointment is it doesn't have the Distant Suns expansion that you saw with TI3. Not expansion, it was an optional rule they had in TI3 that I loved. They gave it a little more of a 4X feel and a little more of an exploration feel. I love that. And I was so bummed when we saw the in-flight report from Fantasy Flight Games last August. They didn't announce an expansion for TI4, they didn't announce an expansion for Star Wars Rebellion. These are two games I love, and these are two games I desperately wanted expansions for. There's so much more you can do with TI4. Please bring it, Fantasy Flight. Please bring it. Please bring stuff for Star Wars Rebellion too, but TI4 needs Distant Suns, and it needs more races. It needs more cards. It needs more stuff. People will buy it. Please, Fantasy Flight, please give us an expansion to TI4. Give us an expansion to Star Wars Rebellion. I'm begging you, baby. I'm begging you. In any event, TI4 is my favorite game from Fantasy Flight Games, and it is my favorite game of all time. And I have played thousands of board games. TI4, number one. So, ladies and gentlemen, I love it. That is Twilight Imperium 4th Edition from Fantasy Flight Games, my number one game. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for joining us. Please leave comments here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page. Let me know, do you like these games that I've chosen? Do you not like them? What games would you like to play? What expansions do you want to see? Am I right to ask for these expansions? Go ahead. I'm very eager to hear from you and what you think, and let me know what your favorite Fantasy Flight games are as well. So thank you once again. Please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and ladies and gentlemen, I would show you my feet as I tap dance, but gangrene.
Please somebody help me.